Hi, let me introduce myself. I'm María Juliana Ruiz, a lawyer with an artist's soul. In 2018, I became First Lady of Colombia, and I assumed this role bursting with ideas and projects, and with a renewed sense of purpose, with all my professional and human skills put at the service of my fellow Colombians, seeing in this task a huge responsibility that I define under two major capacities: advocacy and convening. At the same time, I had in my hands an immense opportunity to set in motion decisive actions and establishing an institutional architecture and comprehensive policies to support the citizens' life course, from my own view, having into account from birth until 28 years old. I had the aspiration to make a specific emphasis on you, the youth, to create real opportunities, to close gaps and focus on developing essential human skills. This dream has accompanied me ever since, completely convinced that gathering efforts and involving different actors to work from a multi-sectoral perspective will impact positively the well-being of our younger generations and their prosper and happy life projects. Sitting in fertile grounds, from them, for you, to bloom and bear fruit will be decisive for the sustainable development of our societies and for achieving the goals set by the 2030 Agenda. I strongly believe in you, the youth, all your capacities of resilience, creativity, and innovation, and that we have the one and only chance to foster your talents and skills to become key actors in solving historical social challenges. Now, in Colombia, after several years of work, important achievements had already been deployed for early childhood. That's why from there, I have led under a personal approach of zero tolerance from any form of violence and building up a holistic concept of nourishment which applies to both the food, the nutritional needs, and the spiritual and emotional well-being, understanding that in this way, a person will receive the resources it needs for physical and cognitive development, while at the same time nourishing the soul with protection and caring. This approach is especially meaningful in our present times, where the COVID-19 pandemic has compelled us to learn how to deal with fear, uncertainty, and the loss of loved ones in a daily basis. While at the same time, we've been forced to look forward for economic and sustainable development. I think this is what lies beneath the social unrest we're currently experiencing. People around the world are protesting and taking the streets to express their voices, led mainly by the youth, asking to be listened to and recognized. But sadly, in some cases, their positive intentions are overshadowed by the disproportionate and aggressive actions of just a few. 2 years ago, having the youth in mind, we established an institutional architecture and an ecosystem of strategic alliances, strengthening the government's executive and operational capacity for the youth, involving governmental institutions, territorial entities, private businesses, civil society, academia, imprinting a sense of territorial belonging, which for us is very important because Colombia is an extremely diverse as a biodiverse country. So this is how the Sacúdete strategy was born. Sacúdete meaning shake yourself. Today, Sacúdete is a program that supports young people and creates prosperity by providing innovation training in areas such as climate action, creative and cultural industries, innovation, science, technology, and tourism, developing entrepreneurial skills, becoming community leaders through solidarity, empathy, and collaboration. Just as this global pandemic urges us, Sacúdete's training programs are centered in developing skills and talents from the fourth industrial revolution. Sacúdete builds self-confidence and richer relations and exchanges between the youth, as provides sustainable alternatives to illegal activities and risks. Between 2019 and 2020, and let me highlight this point, we've reached over 100,000 beneficiaries all around the country in 620 municipalities, with the purpose to attain more than 400,000 beneficiaries with the end and the aiming of getting to 2022, consolidating a network of young leaders and agents of change, of positive change. Now, standing in the current context of social unrest, the government's call for a Colombian Youth Pact, creating dialogue scenarios between institutions and youth voices, deploying in urban and rural areas with the purpose to solve legitimate problems and generate progress. Now, let me tell you how this has been moving forward. During the past 2 months, the government, the youth, and strategic actors have been able to sit down and discuss, concert, and reach agreements with over 11,000 young people in 380 encounters across the country. The results of this process will enhance youth public policies, reinforce them with an unprecedented investment, and set up bridges for a forever consensus. And let me stress on something, because also at the light of this context, we're looking forward to the coming elections to the youth municipal councilors, where more than 10,000 young representatives will be elected by a voting population of 12.7 million young Colombians, the first election of its kind in our region. We've heard Colombian youth voices, which are no distant from the world's youth, from your voices. And we understand that you want to build an equal society, hand by hand with governments, private sector, academia, institutions. You want to be recognized as the leaders of change. You already are. So finally, my message to you, to everyone who's hearing, is that both decision makers and young people need to acknowledge and be aware of the power of listening, the importance of consultation as means to overcome the challenges we're facing as humanity and the challenges we might face in the future. Young people, especially, are full of energy and spirit that needs to be unleashed with vitality, challenged towards constructive actions, because you know more than anybody else that being a bunch implies co-responsibility. Let us transform this heartbreaking and devastating pandemic effects into our greatest opportunity to come back better, breaking prejudices and negative paradigms, encountering ourselves in our humanity. Let us stop for once being led by perception and misinformation that eclipse reality and endanger prosperity in our countries. As a final reflection, I will say to you that we need to take decisions as a community, where you, the young people, must acknowledge how important you are for building up a better present and a brighter future.